and you're happy to have what you had. And you may have worn those several days a week before worship. And so when you would store a piece of linen up because you could no longer wear it, and you were saving it for the next generation's children, moths would come in and destroy it. Not too many people in the first century had silver and gold. Iron. Iron would rust. Nothing that we have upon the face of this earth will ever last. Nothing. The Word of God will always last, but it's eternal and it's heavenly. It's not earthly. My sister doesn't understand. She's been holding on to her Pontiac since 2002. And it doesn't have 100,000 miles on it yet, and she fixes this and fixes that, and she doesn't want to trade because there's no car payment, lower insurance rates, and they want to make it last. I said, but Becky, you're just barely 60. What if you live to 80? You really don't think you're going to trade that car someday? Oh no, I'll keep it forever. I don't think so. A lot of people who do retire sometimes forget that down the line, those clothes and those cars and those houses need repaired, replaced. And they think, oh, I can make it on Social Security. I have all this money. But we're not to put that stuff first in our lives. And it's hard. It's very hard. I don't want to keep up with my neighbors, and none of them are called Jones, but I don't want to keep up with the Joneses. They have nicer homes than I'll ever have. And God bless them for whatever purpose. But that's okay. I have the neatest little cottage in the whole neighborhood. It's red. The pizza delivery man knows my house because it's red. Oh, the red house on Cleveland Road. Okay. How do we use those things that God has given us effectively? Do you ever have a garage sale of the things you no longer need? Or do you store them? You ever seen clothes that people have stored for years and years and years and they're so antiquated that not only have they come and gone in fashion 2 or 3 times, they're so out of date it's not funny? How many men, if they lost their home tomorrow, would want to come into a church building and pick out a suit and have a zoot suit? It might be fun to have a zoot suit, and if you don't know what that is, go back to the Roaring Twenties. Go back to the show The Mask with Jim Carrey and some of the double-breasted coats and the wide bell-bottom pants. And yet we save that stuff, thinking that someday they're going, oh, my great-great-grandmother wore that dress at her graduation, and maybe my grandchild can wear that thing. Well, God bless you. And yet we hold on to those things. We look at life and say, well, I'm making this kind of money, I have to have these kind of luxuries, and I have to have these kind of benefits, and then what's left over I can give to the Lord, and maybe you do a good job of that, but do you ever hold off and not buy something until you really had to? And that's not me. Sorry. All my life, if I had to have something, I would do without until I saved up enough money to buy it. But there are people who utilize the things that they have. It was nice. A gentleman recently bought a new stove and refrigerator, and when he did, he took the old one and gave it to someone else who took it to someone who needed it. Even though it still worked. Probably dusty, but it worked. Do we buy things knowing that they're going to be reused and recycled? Do we buy things knowing that in so many years it's going to fall apart? If you had a Frigidaire with a locking handle on, it may last you 40, 50 years. The new refrigerators today don't do that. They all fall apart. What am I saying? Nothing in life can be counted on as permanent. Nothing in this life is so valuable that you'd miss out on your salvation. Nothing in this world is so valuable that you'd forget to take care of the needs of others around about you. I told in the class this morning, I did help someone out on Christmas Day financially. That's all I had. I didn't have a check. I didn't have pantry foods. And it bothered me because the person did own a dog and smoke and couldn't make it month to month on her bills. But who am I to judge? I did what God had asked me to do, and that was take something that I had and help somebody else. Do we do those kind of things? Do we look out for the need of others around about us? Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, it says in verse 2 of chapter 6, this is small print, and it's not as big as the computer. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet. When you do something good, be glad that you could do it, and you don't need to tell everybody that you did it. But when you do a good deed, can you imagine the amount of warmth in your heart because you've done it? There was thoughts about a young man who needed a car. And his parents saved up to buy themselves one, and they ended up giving it to him. And he said, well, why would you do that? Because we know you'd never have a new car. We've had our new cars, and all we need is something to get us by. And now that you have a new car, you can pick us up and take us places. So they used what they got, but it says, chapter 6, verse 19. I got sidetracked. I had a mental breakdown there for a minute. It's really small. Do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust or thieves break in to steal. For where your treasure is, there lies your heart. Storing up things for heaven. How do we do that? Gary Boulding wasn't always the greatest man to talk to because sometimes he had his opinions, and sometimes those opinions were very strong. But at the same time, if I'm going to die, what better job could I ever have than preaching the gospel until the very day God took me home? Right or wrong in some of his decisions in the past, the man was trying to work towards heaven and saving in his savings account for heaven. You can't get there by earning credits. You can't get there by saving up deeds. But that's what it's talking about. Storing up for heaven is doing those things necessary to help others, spread the gospel, keep yourself in check. By doing so, you're storing up for something that's eternal. No one can take away heaven from you. You can be tempted, you can be tried, you can be tested, and you can be taken to the very maximum of your limits. But you still are in control until that day when you have to depend on God's mercy of where you're going to go, of who you're going to serve. Can I serve God in this world and still worry about money and things? Not really. As a Christian, we're told to be happy in whatever condition we're in. It doesn't matter whether I go to Walmart, Kmart, or wherever to get my jeans, as long as they're the right size. As long as they're cheap. I like Sam's Club, but you know what? You don't always get cheap at Sam's Club. You have to watch what you buy. You have to be very careful. And since I have a small trunk, it doesn't take long for me to fill up my basket and fill up my trunk. But people get coupons. And coupons on top of coupons, and then watch for it on sale. In the meantime, you do without. I don't understand that. Things like that happen. The lamp of the body is the eye. If the eye sees good things, the whole body will be good. Are you out watching movies that are constructive? Are you watching Discovery Channel, Disney Channel, the Learning Channel? Are you watching porn? Whatever your eye is looking at is what's going to build your heart and make your heart strong. What you're watching is what God's going to be looking at and say, let me judge this individual. Mom would never listen to a movie that had a swear word in it. They used to say we didn't watch very many movies. What we had as TV critical guidelines in the 50s doesn't exist today. I can't believe some of the shows that they say are TV-14 when there's swearing, violence, and sexual innuendo. What you're looking at, what you're reading, is it okay to sit and read National Geographic if you're reading it for learning purposes? There are a lot of things that they discover. There's also biblical archaeology, which is in the same area, discovering the same thing, but from a biblical aspect, how it applies to the Old Testament. What you watch on television. My favorite time to watch TV is about time I'm ready to go to bed. Because I can turn it on, and the noise will cover the noise in the neighborhood, and I can take a nap. In the evening time, I don't need it because I don't need the light, but that's my favorite time around noon, when I want to take a nap. Turn it on to something boring, turn it down low, and block out the neighborhood. I guess some people use a fan for the same thing, but your eye, what you